What's up, everyone? Ben with the BTC Sessions here, and this is your daily session.
Hodl that Bitcoin.
Before we dive into everything, of course, a couple quick things here. Shout out to big sponsors of the show, Ledn.io. This is where you can use your Bitcoin for a couple of different services, one of which is Canadian or US dollar loans using your Bitcoin as collateral, and the second of which is a Bitcoin savings account where you can earn additional Bitcoin on your Bitcoin with interest. So both of these services are available through this company that is based here in Canada, but available in a variety of countries. And if you use their services to get a loan with the link down below, they will credit your account with an additional $50 worth of Bitcoin. Now, secondly, if you are in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, then your privacy should be of paramount importance to you. One of the ways that you can help with this is NordVPN. I use this on my phone and on my computer. What does it do? It helps you hide your IP address. It helps encrypt your data, your browsing data. And it also allows you to unlock geo-blocked content. So a nice little bonus there. So if you take a peek at the link down below, you can get 75% off a 3-year deal. It ends up being about $3 a month, so pretty decent. And with that, let's dive into the news. So the Bitcoin price has been a little wild the last 24 hours or so. It has popped way up off of some support at around the $9,300 level, and we are up above 10K decisively so, actually. At the time of filming this, we're around almost $10,650. So getting up there. Of course, it'll probably fluctuate a bunch by the time this goes up, but regardless, we are up considerably. In fact, we're up, $1,300 in the last day or so, and $1,000 of that was within 30 minutes. So what happened there is a lot of people were betting that the price of Bitcoin would go down, and they were doing so with leverage where they're betting more money that they had. And if that happens, then if it goes in the opposite direction, they're often essentially liquidated. They're forced to buy at higher prices than they had planned. And so that seems to be what has happened on BitMEX, and there was a sudden surge in people being forced to buy with high volume. The high volume thing is important because when there's high volume, there's more kind of, clout behind the move. If it had been low volume and not a lot of money changing hands, then that's a bit of a weaker move and may not hold up. So now that we are back above $10,000, decisively so, the next kind of realm that we're worried about passing is the $11,080 range, in and around there. So that's kind of our next resistance. And that, if we can decisively move past that, then at least in the short term, it means we're somewhat out of the woods here and we can start thinking about higher numbers. However, we have to kind of stay above and test that $11,000 range before we can think about anything else. It seems to have invalidated, the sudden move seems to have invalidated calls for 8,500 or below 9K in general. At least for the short term here. Now, if we do get above that 11K range and we start going higher, then of course 12 is kind of our next psychological major resistance. And beyond that, then we start considering trying to test that $13,800 range, which was the yearly high thus far. So, we'll have to see. Those are some of the key levels that we're looking for. Thank God I'm not a trader, because I would not have the stomach for this. I just get to ride the wave, so all good for me. And in looking at the charts here, most coins are up in terms of dollars, but if you look at the 24-hour versus Bitcoin, decidedly less so. There's a lot of red there, and I always say take a peek across the aisle at the longer time frames, 1 week, the 3 month, the 1 year. There's not a lot of happy stories there when it comes to holding altcoins. It's been a little rough for them. So we'll move on from there, and a lot of the stories that we're going to be looking at today are kind of all linked together in that they were spurred on by these Senate hearings in relation to the Libra cryptocurrency and the being harpooned. That's definitely a Freudian slip. Anyways, the Libra cryptocurrency that is being spearheaded by Facebook. Well, it's brought to light Bitcoin and kind of how it functions versus other cryptocurrencies. And there's been a lot of discussion around this stuff. Now, this first story here is the U.S. Treasury Secretary, Mnuchin, was on CNBC talking about Bitcoin and his worries around Bitcoin and Libra and what they will allow. He talks about things like drugs and money laundering and other illicit activities. And he says that essentially he's worried that they are just going to give a free pass to all of this. And that now the host there, what was his name? I always forget his name. Joe Kernan. He asked about, well, I mean, if we start banning currencies because they can be used for illicit activities, then realistically we should be looking at banning the US dollar because it's used for money laundering all the time. It's the most laundered money on the planet. It's always used for illicit activities. It's regularly used by drug cartels and money launderers and banks. And the Treasury Secretary Mnuchin goes on to say, I don't think that's accurate. I think we've done a great job of cracking down on illicit activities. I don't think it's regularly laundered. Basically saying that Bitcoin is worse for those types of things than the US dollar, which is just, it's fucking ridiculous to even entertain that thought. The US dollar is the number one place to launder your money. It is the number one place for drug cartels to store their money. It's the number one place for terrorists to finance their operation. It's insane how ridiculous that statement was, and you can see it in the host's face when that response comes back. In fact, he even pokes fun at it later, but yeah, clearly he's not having any of it, and it's just kind of a ridiculous statement. But there is an actual video here on their Twitter feed, and I will be sure to share that in the links down below. So check it out. It is quite funny to see the reaction. Now, also in relation to commentary around Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, this was a hilarious exchange, I thought anyways. There was a US senator that was bringing up the term, and I'm not even kidding, the term shitcoin in the Senate. And so he's talking about Bitcoin versus other cryptocurrencies. And so I'll give you the kind of rundown on what he said. Now, this was originally in two different pieces, but it's kind of lumped together here to sum it up. A lot of people in this space will use the phrase that you may be familiar with. There's Bitcoin, and then there's Shitcoin. All of these features, different from many of the things people call colloquially shitcoin, all of these features inherent to Bitcoin are different from many of the things people call colloquially shitcoin because the value can be distorted by a central authority, so people really do have their assets at risk. So essentially what he's saying here is the inherent risk with Bitcoin or with altcoins or shitcoins is so much more when it comes to them versus Bitcoin because of their central points of control, and you don't know what people are going to do and how they're going to change those currencies because they are much easier to change and mold to whatever the founders or teams behind them want to do with them. There's not as much kind of distributed consensus when it comes to a lot of these coins. So this was also retweeted by Michael Goldstein, who said, "Shitcoin is not profanity. It is a highly technical term in monetary economics. I sincerely thank Warren Davidson, who was the senator that brought it up, for introducing such an important concept to the rest of the members of U.S. Congress." Super funny. And the funniest thing about this exchange was that after it happened, the search for shitcoin on Google Trends exploded through the roof. It's hilarious. It's so funny. Um, Now, touching on this Bitcoin versus shitcoin train here, let's talk about Bitcoin, not blockchain, or blockchain, not Bitcoin, and the shift between those two. So we saw a lot early on of blockchain, not Bitcoin. And I would say this started happening around 2014, 2015, where the narrative was, well, I don't like Bitcoin, but I like the underlying technology of blockchain. And you saw a lot of this, but you started to realize that the blockchain in and of itself isn't inherently valuable. It's the I guess various factors that have come together, including the blockchain, proof of work, the distributed nature of our node network, and the consensus mechanism with which the underlying rule set is come to and agreed upon. So there's a lot of factors that come together to actually make Bitcoin special, and they're not easily replicated when it comes to other coins or other blockchains for that matter. And so that started to shift later when we got to 2017, mostly in people chasing the rabbit and trying to make a buck, jumping into other coins. And the narrative then started to be, well, Bitcoin was great initially, but we've iterated a little bit and made slight improvements so that this is a bit better. And so because of that, we're the next Bitcoin, which then resulted in the ICO craze, where people were just making up tokens that really had no purpose whatsoever other than just trying to introduce them into, insert industry so that they could make a quick buck and mint their own money. And that went insane until it didn't. And then you saw the crypto winter and everything went off a cliff. And then during that time, you started to see more kind of VC investment into blockchain related firms and companies. Well, now even that is starting to fall off. So we're going to take a look. There's this chart here, and it shows the VC kind of corporate participation in blockchain related ventures. And so you saw it increase quite a bit through 2014 to 2017, 2018, it absolutely skyrocketed. But now take a look at the current year. Now keep in mind, obviously we're only halfway through the year, but even with the projections, it looks like it's only going to be about 1.6 billion, which is in turn a 60% drop in VC investment in blockchain related ventures. So a massive drop off. And when we compare that to what's happened with ICO, so the big one here is the ICOs. Obviously, end of 2017, early 2018, it was insane. People were just throwing their money away. But then down here, you can see the VC investment in blockchain firms. Well, that one surpassed ICOs in Q3 of 2018, but both of them continued to shrink afterwards, and they're very much dwindling away to nearly nothing. So the focus has become Bitcoin, not blockchain, and this whole narrative has just been it's steamrolled everything else in my mind from what I've seen so far. And honestly, I've got to give a nice little golf clap to Mark Zuckerberg, because holy Christ, the Libra has, in my mind at least, just put this hyper Bitcoinization idea in high gear. People are starting to recognize that this is the innovation and that there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of garbage, and people are starting to realize and contrast and compare between Bitcoin and everything else. And there is a stark contrast when it comes to those types of trade-offs. So honestly, this has been one of the most insane, mind-boggling weeks I've witnessed in a while. And to see people in the Senate speaking about this stuff, using the term shitcoin, actually comparing the fact that, you have a number of corporations behind a coin versus something where there is no central authority, where nobody can dilute the number of coins, where nobody can change the underlying architecture unless there's consensus, which is very difficult to achieve. And so people are cluing in. And I thought we were due for another crazy kind of shitcoin, altcoin, and whatever else boom, where there would just be so much malinvestment. And we still may be. I hope not, but we still may have that again. But at least if we do, people in the end, when it fizzles out, can look back at some of these quotes and some of these exchanges between people in the Senate and go, oh, that was right. People were recognizing the value in Bitcoin and understanding that the rest of it was noise. And, I guess we just kind of got off track. So that is my hope for this. I really hope to see it go that way. And I guess, as always, I'm just going to have to sit back, watch, and enjoy as it all unfolds. And I hope you guys will do that with me. And with that, I guess I'll start to wrap up. If you're new here, of course, hit like, subscribe, and share. If you want to support the show, you can check out either the sponsors down below, Ledn and NordVPN. Links are in the show notes. And if you really like what you saw, you can drop a tip at my tippin.me page. By the way, thank you to everybody that's dropping sats via Lightning to my tippin.me. It's always very much appreciated. Even if it's a few sats, it's fun to go through and see the comments and everything. I love it. So thank you very, very much. And with that, I am out of here. Have a wonderful rest of the night, and I will see you tomorrow for your daily session.